Okay, we're back. We went to the store, we got our hoses. Everything's looking good. It's drying out under here. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna have to move my stuff back here so we can work. We got a replacement hose, one of the universal ones, with the stainless wire inside, so that will replace that. And then I got this hose, which is the same size, to go on there, and I figure we'll find one of these bends that works, and we'll trim it and use it, and then we'll have some left over for something else. So you can see the clamps jacked up. No good. Some clamps. So it looks like this size to me. So I'm going to clock this so that you probably can't see, but you want to clock it so you can actually get to the clamp if you ever need to take it off or tighten it up. So, you know, when you put it in, that's going to bolt the end away from me, just like this, onto the bracket, and I want to put the clamp on, and I want to put it on like that so that I can tighten it up. Okay, so there we go. We can adjust it if needed. Alright, so that'll go in like that. And we just gotta figure this bad boy out. We just need a little bend, kind of like that. So, I think this little bend right here is going to be perfect. I just went back to the shelf and picked something out that was the right size. You can always cut more off. Yeah. Is that bend better than that bend? I think this bend is better. So let's cut it right there. Nice and solid on our universal. Alright, let's put the AC system back together, huh? You can see the bracket here. Put that back on. And with the bracket on and this removed, I can still access the lower, and I can still access the upper in case I need to tighten it up. It's tight though. I don't think it's going to need to do that. He's good to go. Ready for our AC compressor. Alright. Compressor's in. I got this new belt and it's pretty tight, so we're going to try to just pry it on there. Now we got it on there. Now we got to adjust this idler all the way down. Hopefully we can get it on there and get a little bit of idler, because it is rubbing on this other idler bracket right here. But it's a tight fit. Alright, now we're all the way down. Now if you can tell, this bushing, the flat side goes towards the bracket. The little ridge goes towards the pulley, or it won't spin, because it's got to tighten down on the bearing. So, put the flat side towards the bracket. Alright, we got it on there. Now, we're going to run this nut down here to create a little bit of tension while this is still loose. Counterclockwise on the adjuster bolt is going to give you tension on the belt, and that looks pretty good right there. So I definitely don't want to do it any more than that, but it's definitely clear. And then once you have the tension kind of where you want it, you can snug that up, and that pinches it so it can't loosen, can't rattle loose. Okay, so we got our belt on, everything is in line, looks good, compressor looks good. Now let's go do our AC lines. Alright, here's our line set. Now if you remember, these poke through the firewall. One of these does. It's kind of tricky dicky. And we got our little O-ring kit. We do have a new filter dryer. Let's do these lines up at the firewall. Now before, when I was working on this, I really didn't like the way these lines were clocked. They should really be clocked kind of like that. So we're gonna massage the line set a little bit just to make it clock correctly and clean up and neaten up things a little bit. Okay, this one didn't have a O-ring on it that I noticed. It's too big. That's just right. Don't want to cross thread these because you've got a steel nut and aluminum threads. Now you can see these old school filter dryers, they have a sight plug. So what you're supposed to do is charge it until the sight plug is liquid. So you just keep charging the low side. This is on the high side. And then once this hits, you know this is liquid, then you know the whole system has enough refrigerant in it. So it's kind of an interesting way to do it. Now, some of the newer, more modern stuff uses a different kind of oil, I think. And the different kind of oil, you can't tell if it's oil or liquid refrigerant, so you can't do that anymore. You just use the pressures. But that's going to go in right there. So let's go ahead and get that thing squared away. And so we got all the O-rings replaced, everything's hand tight into the evaporator, and then up here to the front, O-rings are replaced. We're not ready for the condenser yet. So, alright, next up, let's do the rest of our fan belts. We're just going to build our way forward. We gotta, remember, we gotta take care of the bolts here on the front. Be able to hook it and then spin it on. Just like that. Alright, now in order to tighten this, we're going to tighten the alternator first, because that's going to tighten this inner belt. And then once that's tight, because that may affect this outer belt, then we'll tighten the power steering. Okay, if you can see here, this thing just goes on the end of this little bolt. And then as you turn it, it tightens the alternator up. So just like that. So I'm going to get it on there like that. And then clockwise we'll pull it out. Just like that. Okay. Now for the power steering pump, I don't see any kind of adjuster like the others. So what we do, get our 14mm wrench, pry bar, try again, so we just snug it up, snug her up. There we go. Tight, tight, tight. Tight. Alright, belts are on. Now if you recall, our fan has some damage here, so they put some washers in. It'll be just fine. We're going to clean it up though real quick. Alright, get our fan on. Now, as far as our shroud goes, it's fine. We'll clean it up a little bit. I'm not going to worry too much about it. But if you recall, it's held on by these top two bolts right here and here, here and here. And with the radiator, we were having issues where it would hit the fan periodically. So what we're going to do is we're going to slot these holes so that we can adjust the fan just a little bit if we need to. So we're going to go ahead and do that. All right, we got our shroud notched right here. It's the top. We got our notches put in right there so we can move it up and down if we need, and go from there. Yeah, it goes like that. So put that in like that, and then we're ready to put in our cooling stack. Now, we drilled our holes, if you recall, not on the top, because this thing is kind of loosey-goosey. Now, the reason why it's like that is because it's got these stupid brackets from this body lift, okay, and they never attach the top of the radiator. So, we're going to fix that. But first, we got to go get some bolts. Be back soon. Alright, M8 1.25 by 30 millimeters. Let's see how that does. Okay, shroud is on. Now let's do the condenser. Alright, we are going to have to flip those bolts around. No big deal. Okay, battery died on the GoPro. Here's what we got. We got the condenser mounted. These are tight. Tighten all the lines. The radiator is mounted, super solid. Shroud is mounted, no interference. We checked here. No interference. Our filter dryer has been mounted. It was slightly smaller diameter than the OEM, so I took some old pieces of radiator hose, cut them and put them in there just to make it solid, super solid now. Also shock absorbing. We tightened up the nuts here, and now we're just going to put the air box, all the PCV lines, vacuum hoses, we're going to hook all that back up, and we're almost ready to pull a vacuum on this. The reason why I want to do that before we pull the vacuum is I want to clock those fittings over here. I don't really like how that one on the bottom kind of comes out and then bends back around. I think maybe it should be the other way, but Not sure if that was for by design. And then the top one, originally it clocked and it came out this way and then went that way, and then the pressure was bending it and it was causing that rubber seal around the firewall to collapse and come down. So we want to fix that, and then so we're gonna go ahead and put this all back together. We'll tighten that up, and we'll be ready to pull a vacuum. Now, and we're gonna still flush this radiator and the cooling system, so we're just gonna take garden hose and put it in here and just try to flush out as much as we can. Put it in here. We'll flush out as much as we can. Maybe we'll put this on it like this and just kind of fill her up like that, and try to flush out any of the crap that we can before we start putting the solution in for the flush. Alright, so we'll be back in a little bit. Okay, we're back. Before we button everything up, remember we got to remove this mechanical gauge, oil pressure gauge. I got the sender here. I verified that it fits into the socket there for our harness that we repaired. So we're gonna do that. I went ahead and removed the fitting here. Remove the fitting, remove this fitting. It looks like NPT to flare there. And so unscrewed that. And if you can see on the very bottom here, right where my pointer, here we go, right where my pointer is, that's where it goes, the base of this oil filter housing. So we're gonna put a little Teflon tape on the threads and throw it in there. Welcome. We didn't get all the rest of the footage on camera because my battery died. I got a little bit on the phone, give you a little overview. Just gonna show you around a little bit and give you a status of the cruiser. Let's recap. So we put in our new AC compressor down here. I did go ahead and it was off camera, but I went and bought new belts for the middle and the outer belt, because the middle belt, the alternator belt, I was running out of adjustment, where you can see right down in here, this bolt, right where my middle finger is, right here. I was running out of adjustment, and the belt still wasn't snug, so I knew that one needed to be replaced. So I figured, well, might as well. I replaced the AC belt initially on the videos earlier in the episode, but then I reused the middle and the outers because they looked to be in good condition, but they were actually stretched out or the wrong size. So I replaced these two with these green stripes. They went on pretty easy. You just feed it through the fan and put it on. We've got the radiator and the fan shroud all put back together properly this time. So I mentioned it earlier in the episode, but I didn't show you. So if you look down, you can kind of see the bracket where it's dropping the radiator down the same amount as the body lift. So this truck has a body lift on it, and you can see by these spacers. And so in order to do that, you lift the body up, but you need to drop the radiator down so that it interfaces with the fan, because the fan's on the engine and the engine height doesn't change with the body lift. So they had these brackets on the bottom, and on the top, if you recall from one of my earlier videos, there was a rope around here and it was tied off and there was no bolts and all that. So we fixed all that. Let me move this real quick. There's a better shot of it. Okay, so we fixed that. So we have the bolts in the bracket here. So that drops that down. And then the radiator was not supported up here, because in the factory installation it would be bolted up here, okay, but with the body mount it drops it down. So we drilled those holes, and you can see me do that on camera, but I didn't get a great shot of it. But we drilled the holes, and now the radiator is mounted with the drop bracket and this second hole. So four total mounts, and it's super solid. And then for the fan shroud, if you recall in some of my previous videos, the fan shroud every now and then would hit the fan, and we're going to replace this fan because it's pretty chewed up. It still works, but we're going to replace it, so don't worry about that. But the fan shroud, I slotted the holes a little bit so that it could be adjusted just a little bit, you know, 1/4 inch or so. Just took a little hacksaw and slotted out the holes. And so now we have that installed with 4 bolts. Super solid. Fan works great. Okay, we did the radiator flush. No issues there. Fill it up with the solution, run it, drain it out, fill it up with water, drain it out. Keep doing that until it comes out clean, and then fill it up with antifreeze. So we got it all buttoned back up, all the PCV lines back up, everything back on, and I got refrigerant charged. I did not show that on film. Again, my battery died. It was raining. Wind was blowing, and I just needed to get it back together and get it done. So our hoses are on. They're tight. Pulled the vacuum. Held the vacuum just great. Put new O-rings in every connection. We clocked our hoses. Okay, now this would have gone on the battery tray hold down, which I don't have that. We can maybe find one second hand. But we got our hoses clocked kind of how we like them. They're not putting any pressure on the gasket. I may put some tape or some foam around here just to kind of seal it up just a little better. But it's the AC is working great, and you'll see in my next video. So I posted these on YouTube in a little bit of an out of order, so I'm going to fix the order. So this is going to be episode 7.1, 7.2, 2 parts for this cleaning and the thermostat. Part 8 will be the oil pressure gauge repair, which you saw me do. It's already been posted, so I'll change those around. But bottom line is, we did that afterwards. But the AC is working great. It's super cold. You know, as far as the vacuum goes, we put the vacuum on it, let it sit for an extended period of time. It didn't leak any. We charged it up, and the charging procedure, we just charged until we got we saw liquid at the sight glass here, and I checked the pressures. The pressures look great. I might do another video later on about AC charging, because a lot of people have some misconceptions about that, and how refrigerant and AC charging and converting from R22 to R134. I think I could do a whole 10 or 15 minute video on that, and so I may do that later on down the line, just to give you guys some basic troubleshooting tips and tricks there. But didn't want to leave you guys hanging. We got everything back together. The grill's back on. You can see I got lights. I replaced the headlights with some new ones there. Everything's back together, working good until, and this is the next video, I'll show you the clip. But basically, I was running the AC, I was warming it up, had a check engine light, because there was no bulb in the check engine light, so I was like, well, I'll put the bulb in. And then of course I put it in and the light's on, so it's like, well, that's why they took the bulb out, but we'll fix it, it's no big deal. And so I was warming up the engine, getting ready for that, and then I ran into this issue with buzzing. So with the AC on, it goes into this buzzing, and then both turn signal indicators light up, and it's a relay. And so I was troubleshooting with these relays down here and couldn't figure out what it was. All these and then the same thing would happen if I turn the headlights on. Turn the headlights on, I get all this buzzing, and no blower, no headlights, and nothing would work. Turn signals, nothing. So the buzzing is the relay. And so stay tuned for the next episode, where we're gonna fix that electrical issue, because I already know what it is, and I'm gonna give you guys a little sneak peek. Anyways, AC, great. So right now we got an electrical issue behind the dash, and we're gonna fix that. But I just wanted to wrap things up. Again, the batteries died, and I needed to get it done and get it back together so that it wasn't all hanging out. So it's all back together now. We put some belts on, everything's good. So it's all back together now, running good, except for the electrical issue. So
Stay tuned for episode 9, where we tackle relay buzzing and electrical issues. Okay, talk to you soon.